like to begin the public informational meeting on the articles to be voted on March 3rd, 2025. We'll go over the articles, but I'd like to ask Representative Page if he'd like to speak.
If you want me to, I'm prepared to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I guess you'd like to have an update on what's going on in Montpelier. And basically, it's a very slow start. But between the governor and the legislature, I would say we're working on about 4 items. One would be education, which is near and dear to everyone, public safety, housing, as well as the climate issues that we are facing. Those are the key items that we're facing. And within the healthcare, which I'm assigned to right now, we have about 40 bills that have been assigned to our committee. And we've only passed out of our committee about 3 of them. Actually, yes, 3 of them. One had to do with the unmerging of markets, which were to make insurance premiums less expensive for those that met those criteria. Another one was to increase the certificate of need thresholds for hospitals and healthcare centers. There's quite a process in which you have to go through in order to get approval for a certificate of need. There's a lot of administrative work, both with the Green Mountain Care Board as well as the hospitals preparing for the things that they want, whether it be renovations or updating of equipment. Anyways, those thresholds have been raised to about $10 million. And the third item, health insurance claims standards do not apply when health care services are delivered outside of Vermont unless they're previously coordinated and agreed to. I would also mention to you some of the bills that I have submitted to various committees. I'll start off with the first one, H116. You've probably seen it written in the Daily Express about campaign financing. I asked that our campaigns for the Senate and the House be limited to what we make down there, which is only about $29,000. And I think it's ridiculous for people to raise between, here's some examples, $41,000 or $78,000 for a $29,000, $30,000 job. It just doesn't seem right. And I was hoping that maybe we could get money out of our political system here in Vermont. Not an easy task, as you can imagine. I also had a couple of bills related to the military. One was act relating to prohibiting practices for services involving benefits. You have a lot of money out there right now from the feds for veterans that have undergone some sort of disease through burn pits. And there are a lot of scam artists out there trying to get money out of veterans. The other issue was to exclude veterans' disability benefits from income-based eligibility determination for various state agencies that offer things such as insulating your home or fuel assistance, that sort of thing. Another item that I thought was fairly popular was H109. It's an act relating to municipal ordinances. It affects our city here in Newport. It allows it governs the maintenance of properties within downtown districts. It regulates maintenance of premises within our downtown district, and it compels owners of premises to maintain those premises against decay or deterioration. It's just another tool in the toolbox for cities. And then, and then the other issue was H113, an act relating to lakes in crisis and requirements for designation of a lake in crisis. I've asked that Lake Memphremagog be declared a lake in crisis because of our invasive species that we have here. Also hoping that we get more federal monies, to help clean up the lake. And also as the lake in designation criteria, there's a couple of items, and one is that your property value has to decline before a lake can be named a lake in crisis. That will never happen on this lake as well as others. So I asked that that criteria be removed. And then finally, probably the one item that I'm most proud of was Joint Resolution House Number 2. This urged that President Trump refrain from imposing tariffs on goods and services imported from Canada. And anyways, that bill went to a committee and it hasn't come out, and it will not, unfortunately. And I'm not certain that it would have done any good, but it did have bipartisan support, and all of our Northeast Kingdom legislators voted for that as well. So those are basically some of the things that we have been working on down in the State House. Oh, and one other item I should mention regarding health care. We had the Owens-Wyman report midsummer. And I would just advise everybody that, our hospitals are not out of the woods yet. And there's probably more legislation that's going to be coming forward, giving more powers to the Green Mountain Care Board. And I'm not certain that's a good thing, but, just to advise everyone that our hospital is very important to our community, and I don't know where we would be without it, and not to forget about our hospital, keep the attention going that everyone has maintained since that report was delivered. So unless there's any questions, I'll sit down and listen to your council meeting.
May I ask Woody a question? So yesterday at the Goodrich, Ken Wells made mention that North Country Hospital had been I'm not going to use the word guaranteed, that North Country Hospital wasn't going anywhere, that there had been conversations and things going on, and that the hospitals were being saved as they were, that one of the good steps was that UVM was not withdrawing the dialysis center. But I'm just confused by the different
well, that is correct. The Green Mountain Care Board did increase the UVM Health Network's budget so that those dialysis centers can continue to operate. But our healthcare system is in crisis right now with Blue Cross Blue Shield having some financial issues. And I would say that our hospital is safe for now, but as they say, don't leave your eyes off the prize. All of our rural hospitals things are being cut within the various services, and you've seen those cuts here at North Country, and some of them have been cut also at the St. Johnsbury facility. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Chris. Thank you.
All right. We're going to excuse me, review the articles, and I'm going to ask that Dr. Chase read those for us.
Oh. Beginning with Article 1 and just reading all of them, Chris?
Summarize these would be fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can summarize, but so Article 1, to elect by Australian ballot in accordance with the Charter of the City of Newport. The following officers: a mayor for 2 years ensuing, 2 council members for 2 years ensuing, a city clerk for 3 years ensuing, a city treasurer for 3 years ensuing, 1 trustee to North Country Union High School, District Number 22, for 3 years ensuing, 2 trustees to Newport City School District for 3 years ensuing, constable for 1 year ensuing, and 3 grand jurors for 3 years ensuing.
So I think the way we will do this is we'll go through an article, and if there's any comments or questions, we'll go one at a time. Is there anything on Article 1? All right. Article 2?
Article 2, shall the city compensate the mayor and council members serving the city of Newport for the ensuing year as follows? For the mayor, $2,250. For the council member serving as council president, $2,000. For the remaining council members, $1,750.
Article 3?
Wait a minute. Mine jumps to Article 8. Oh, here it is. It's on a different page. I got it. Article 3, shall the city of Newport, Vermont approve a budget of $5,267,700.20 for the general operation and to cover liabilities of the city of Newport, Vermont, including amounts approved by the voters as appropriations or assessments, and authorize the city to assess a tax in addition to amounts the city is by law authorized to assess, sufficient to provide funds for the same.
I had several comments and concerns. One is that normally the city annual report is out and distributed at least by this time. It's important that citizens know where to look for the annual report in case they haven't seen a copy of the budget, because the budget determines, the general budget determines that amount of $5 million. And the only way for them to know if that's fair in their own minds is if they read the budget. So it is online under the city of Newport, even though we don't have a hard copy of it. And I did read it. And a second thing that I would point out is there are asterisks next to all the places where, instead of the general fund paying for salaries, the water and sewer funds pay for portions of those salaries. The problem is last year, the asterisks were at the bottom. It said asterisk, and it explained that means X makes, $40,000 from water and sewer and $60,000 from the general fund. But I can't find any place in the one that's on the website that says what the asterisks mean. And there are asterisks in both the water and sewer budget and asterisks in many places in the general fund budget, but no explanation of what the salaries are. So we struggled a year or two ago with getting them to explain, because sometimes the salary looks great. Oh, we are only paying $30,000 for a city manager. We're only paying $20,000 for a financial accountant type person. But that's not true, because water and sewer was paying a fair amount or more than half sometimes of that salary. So that's missing, I think, unless I missed it. And I'd like to be told if I did miss it. And that brings up my third point. I have asked that since the two budgets are interrelated, I mean, maybe in some cities totally different species, but still the water and sewer budget is related to the general fund because it's paying some of the monies for the salaries in there, that you guys should have voted on the water and sewer budget, which hasn't happened. And I really hope that things change around that, because if you don't vote on the water and sewer budget, It's sort of out there. I don't know who made it up. I don't know who's responsible for it, really. And in the end, who is going to determine if it's being abided by? Whether or not the expenses are being abided by, whether or not you're really collecting the amounts of money that you expected to collect. If you don't even vote on the budget, I think it's a serious mistake to lose control to I don't know who's going to look at it and see if it's accurately happening. So, and it's just not fair to the citizens to sort of, you know, put the budget in there, but nobody even approved it. It's a problem. So are there asterisks explained that I don't know about?
Yeah, sure.
So actually, maybe it'd be helpful, Chris, to do these in order. Do you want to talk about where to find copies?
Yeah, so there, like you said, there are copies online now. Printed copies are going to be available tomorrow.
Well, they're available. We can go get them tonight if anybody wants them. They're down, they've been in the clerk's office since.
Yeah. And in that
Thursday or
book, does it
Friday.
have what the asterisks mean?
It does not. It's the
That's-
same, the book is the same copy as what's online. So the best I can do for you tonight is to be clear about the only places I'm aware of where salaries were allocated from the operations budget to water and sewer, and what percentage of those salaries were allocated. And I can share that, which we shared during the process of looking at the budget, but I can reiterate if that would be helpful.
I can also add to that I think we can all agree that there's been quite positive movement with the water and sewage monies and where things need to be. I think in that process, asterisks have been dropped, not on purpose, but it's there for a reason, we just didn't put it in. It's a new process. I think as it moves forward, new council continues to improve things and make things more clear. So, anything you want to add to that?
I'll just say, the percentage of the city administrative budget, which is basically the two positions that are not currently filled, but are potentially will be filled, for the city manager, and we are now calling the financial and office administrator, 10% of those combined salaries have been allocated to water and sewer. And 12.5% of the city clerk's combined 3 salaries have been allocated to the sewer budget, nothing to the water budget. And to the best of my knowledge, unless I'm forgetting something,
I think there was an allocation for water as well.
no, that was removed. After you spoke, in the adjustments, the final adjustments we made, we pulled back 12.5% and put it back in operations. So the only salary that's being allocated, Jim, correct me if you think I'm wrong about this, but the only salary that, in my judgment, we've allocated to the sewer budget, which is to say the water and sewer budget combined, is 12.5% of the combined 3 salaries in the city clerk and treasurer's office.
I thought it was 25% in sewer and 12.5% into water.
No, that's not right.
Okay.
12.5% total.
Yeah, my understanding, Rick's active on that.
The only other salary that gets allocated is the Director of Public Works appropriately, because he's working in all 3 places.
And that's 33.
I think we did it 33, 33, 33, is that right, Tom?
Correct.
Yeah. Those are the only things that got transitioned to water and sewer this year in this budget.
Lori?
Now, I think, as I recall in a meeting, the last meeting or the one prior, I think there was that question about the 12.5 and 12.5 for treasurer and clerk, and one of those was dropped.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's somewhere in the minutes, I think.
Jay Walsh, resident Newport. Excuse me. I have to say, I got to agree with Ann. I've discussed this with her and with the mayor in the past, that the water and sewer budget should be part of your reconciliation of the budget. It seems fiscally irresponsible to not look at that where their salaries, as she stated, for city employees in that budget at the time that we're voting for the budget, so that it's crystal clear and can be put right before the public in your open meeting that, you know, $60,000 of their salary is in this budget and $20,000 is in the water and sewer budget. I think it misrepresents both the budget and the water and sewer budget not to discuss those at the same time. I'd like to see you guys discuss and actually make some kind of a motion that those two things going forward should always be discussed when we're talking about the city budget and approving that. Thank you.
Article 4, please.
Article 4, shall the voters of the Newport City School District authorize the Newport City School District to approve the Newport City School Board to expend $8,802,517, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. The district estimates that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in per pupil education spending of $14,757, which is 0.36% higher than per pupil education spending for the current year.
Okay, Article 5.
Article 5, shall the voters of the Newport City School District authorize the Newport City School Board to transfer $310,000 of unallocated audited general fund balance to the Construction and Building Maintenance Fund from the 2023-2024 school year.
Questions or comments? Article 6, please.
Article 6, shall the voters of the City of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $49,847 to support recycling in the City of Newport and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same.
Can you just explain to everyone what's different about that? Not everyone got the history around that.
So it was in the general funds previously. There has been questions for years if it's utilized enough to warrant that budget line. I think asking the voters if it should be appropriation would tell the council if we move forward with continuing it in the general funds or if we need to transition something off. John?
Yeah, I just have a question. By moving it out of the general fund into an appropriation, how does that work with manpower, staffing, and if there's increases or decreases? Does it still work through Public Works employees? Is it a separate entity now, or is it still part of Public Works? Because as an appropriation, that's a limited amount of funds. And if you're pulling Public Works people in and they're on overtime, how is that gonna work? Is there coming out of Tom's budget? Just curious.
Want me to answer that? So really, their overall budget's $80,000. We still have to pay for household hazardous waste days. We still have to track some of our SWIP stuff. So that's a portion of just running the facility itself. And what the question is asking the residents, do you want to continue it? Nothing's going to change.
Oh, okay.
If the appropriation is approved, nothing changes. The same staff, still overseen by.
No, but I'm just saying, like Jonathan was out, he got hurt, and you're bringing people in if they're paying
Well,
overtime.
that's typical anyways, you know, everybody misses a day here and there,
Yeah.
so if one of them misses a day, I have to staff it with a full-time staff.
Just didn't know how that works budget-wise, being an appropriation.
Okay.
I'm just curious if striking this or pulling this from the budget and putting it before the people was done because of the trying to maintain the current budget and the overages that we currently have?
So, my perspective now, this has been a question that's come to the table for at least 5 years now, if the recycling center should be still there if it's utilized enough.
I should have asked that when, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I see Christine Heinrich online.
No, I just have, do I open?
Yes, I do. Hi, everybody. I just want to, and I think I missed it because it kind of went fast, but I did want to interject, I think, back on Articles 3 and 4. And maybe, can you just give me a little bit of understanding around the homestead rate and why it continues to go up so dramatically year over year? And is there any effort that's going to be placed in managing the homestead rate increase? Because as I understand it, that with the taxes in place now, our house taxes will go up yet another 0.3% this coming year.
The homestead rate incorporates the municipal rate, the appropriations, and the voted exempt. If the general fund budget goes up and the grand list doesn't go up, then the rates increase. If the general fund budget goes up and the grand list goes up, your rate decreases a little bit, but you're still raising the same amount of money.
Can you explain to me why the rate is so high? It's the highest rate in the entire state of Vermont.
I can't explain why it's the highest rate in the state of Vermont. All I can do is explain ours.
Working. Is there going to be any effort to look at the homestead rate in the coming year?
I think that'd be
That
up
all
to
depends on future budgets.
and also the new council coming in. My suggestion would be keep buzzing in the ears of the new councils, making sure if that's a priority that you want, that's a priority.
Yeah. I mean, the taxes are really high in Newport. I don't know if you know it is.
Yeah, we know.
And
We should do something about it. I'd be happy to help.
thank you.
All right, thanks.
I guess the other two things that came to mind about recycling is, one, what's going to happen to the employees that now work there? And two, what we didn't explain was what people are going to do to get rid of their recycled goods. I mean, I know you have options for that, but I don't know that everybody else understands that. So what about the employees and what are the citizens to do to recycle?
I can answer that if you want. So the employees, certainly, we have places that we could offer them other positions. These past couple of years have been challenging to just find summer or seasonal help anyways. So that's not going to be an issue. Just want to step back a little bit. As Chris had said, this has been talked about numerous times. Reg Schaaf has been gone for a few years, but Reg had done a study for me almost through a whole season and determined that there was about 200 citizens, residents in the city that were actually utilizing the recycling facility. So if you take in 4,400 people and only 200 are using it, that's kind of why that question has come up. Is it really feasible for us to keep the facility open? And as far as you as a resident here, you must have a trash hauler that picks up your trash. If you do, they have to offer recyclables. They have to offer it. So it's not leaving everybody without an option. Or if you're a person that takes your trash to Casella, yeah, they're probably going to charge you as like your trash to take your recyclables. Because as you know, every tonnage that leaves that facility, we pay for it. We're not making money on recyclables. It's an expense.
Thank you.
Article 7.
Article 7, shall the City of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $110,000 to help defray the operational expenses of the Goodrich Memorial Library and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same?
Question, comments? Article 8.
Article 8, shall the City of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $17,500 to Orleans Essex VNA and Hospital for the services of skilled nursing, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, medical social work, licensed nurses' aides, homemaker and personnel care attendants, hospice and maternal child health programs, and other community health programs provided by the agency, and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same.
Okay, Article 9.
Article 9, shall the City of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $11,000 to Rural Community Transportation, RCT, for services provided to the residents of the city of Newport and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same.
Article 10.
Article 10, shall the city of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $7,000 to assist the Northeast Kingdom Council on Aging in providing services to older Vermonters for the ensuing year and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same.
Article 11, please.
Article 11, shall the city of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $4,818 to support Northeast Kingdom Human Services, Inc., a nonprofit 501c3 organization, to assist in providing psychiatric mental health services to residents of Caledonia, Essex, and Orleans counties, and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same.
Okay, Article 12, please.
Article 12, shall the city of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $8,500 to support Umbrella, Inc. in providing services to residents of the city of Newport, and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same.
Article 13, please.
Shall the city of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $3,000 to Northeast Kingdom Learning Services, Inc. to provide services to residents of the city of Newport and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same?
Article 14, please.
Article 14, shall the city of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $2,000 to assist the Pope Memorial Frontier Animal Shelter with its commitments to rescuing, providing care for, and finding homes for unwanted pets, and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same?
Okay, Article 15, please.
15, shall the city of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $4,000 to the Orleans County Historical Society to assist in maintaining the Old Stone House Museum and its educational programs, and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same?
And Article 16, please.
And shall the city of Newport, Vermont appropriate the sum of $2,000 to Connect Abilities, formerly OCCA, for the purpose of supporting programs and activities which seek to provide support, advocacy, and community connections for individuals with developmental disabilities in Orleans County, and direct the city to assess a tax sufficient to pay the same?
Okay, thank you. These articles will be voted upon at the Newport City Municipal Building using the Australian ballot system. Polls open at 8 o'clock and close at 7 p.m. One additional article will begin at 8 p.m., which is Article 17, which is to act upon any other business that may legally come before the 107th annual meeting of the City of Newport. Yes, Ann?
Can you explain what that is? I don't understand.
Open forum.
I'm sorry?
I believe that's just always been there, just in case something else pops up that needs to be voted upon. Does that also include
Yeah, just
election?
any other business, any business that involves financial commitments that aren't on their previous articles.
That the council raises or that the citizens raise?
Citizens can raise it.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I will adjourn the public informational meeting of the articles at 6:33. And I call to order the regular scheduled city.
Question. There's supposed to be a town meeting as well.
Right.
It doesn't stop, the meeting, first meeting doesn't stop when the articles are read. There's an opportunity for citizens who are here now to ask questions and raise issues, as they would at a regular town meeting, which is something that, as a city, we have been denied because we were led to believe that everything stopped when the articles were read. That's not what the state says. So, there's cookies and grapes at the back, and there's an opportunity, if you guys are willing for that to continue, because that is what the state says we can do.
I'm open to discussion if anybody has anything additional to add. Okay. Then I call to order the March 3rd, 2025 regularly scheduled council meeting at 6:34. In attendance is myself, Councilperson Charbonneau, Councilperson Curtis, Councilperson Upper Chase, City Clerk Treasurer James Johnson. I see Tom Bernier, and I see Travis Bingham. Number 2, additions and deletions to the agenda. I do have 2 additions to the agenda, which are 2 warrants. Two AP warrants, one from 2/28/25, and then the second one from 2/28/25. Mr. Charbonneau? Any other additions, deletions?
No.
Mr. Curtis?
No, thanks.
Mr. Upper Chase?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Johnson? Item number 3, the consent agenda. We have the meeting minutes from the February 24th meeting, the warrants that I just added, and one permit request from Fuzzy's Beverage in East Main. So I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Discussion? Comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the consent agenda has passed. Next item is a submission to the record of a disclosure of conflict of interest as required by the Vermont Code of Ethics. You don't want to speak on that at all, or you want me to just submit it?
Can I borrow? Yeah, this is related to the conversation at the last meeting. There were 2 matters before the council regarding the work that Newport Downtown Development, the nonprofit agency that I direct, is doing on behalf of the city. First, regarded a funding strategy to seek funds through NCIC and New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. It's the same organization now, to support the initiation of work for which the city is contracted with White & Burke to develop a TIF district application. And the second is for NDD to pursue a USDA RBDG grant to fund a significant portion of the rest of that work that White & Burke and related entities will need to do. We had discussion again about that. It had been something we'd been working on since the end of December. The council voted to approve moving ahead with those 2 funding strategies. I did not recuse myself because I have no material, there's nothing material that I gain in the process of doing this work, and it was well within the memorandum of understanding that we signed with the City of Newport. Newport Downtown Development signed with the City of Newport City Council on December 16th. So this is simply filling out the appropriate disclosure form for that vote that I participated in at the last meeting.
Thank you. Go back to Jim for the records, please. Thank you. Item number 5 is discussion around special election. Mayor Sullivan wanted this included as a talking point to remind that there is an option after the town meeting elections results come out, that if there is an open seat, that the council has the right to establish a time or start a timeline for a special election, which I understand is within 30 to 60 days after, 30, 45?
This is how, I have to warn that no more than 40 days before the date you set the election, no less than 30. However, if we're going to open this, it's going to be an open election for council seat. Okay, people have to get petitions in, and they have to be received in my office on the 6th Monday before the day of the election. So, in my calculations, the earliest you could hold this meeting would be April 29th. So I could have time to get petitions in, that get ballots printed, get 6 Mondays, it's got to be in there. And I got to warn it for at least 30 days.
All right. Other discussion from council? All right.
So the council, sometime soon after the election, will have to have a meeting to establish the date for a special meeting.
I'll take the question.
Would that mean that if someone were elected, they would only serve until the next town meeting,
They would,
rather than a two-year
yeah.
term?
they would fill the term of the person that they're filling for.
Correct.
Yeah.
I take it then, you do have both options, I guess, either to appoint someone or
Correct.
have an election, and I take it that the council has chosen to do an election?
There's no choices that have been made. The mayor wanted to remind the council that they have that option of a special election.
And how would that procedure go forward?
After the elections, if there's an open seat, council would convene either a special meeting or the next scheduled meeting and vote to start that process of having a special election.
Or appoint?
Or appoint, correct. Yes.
We, the citizens, can initiate that by getting a petition with 25 signatures on it, as we did last time.
All right, number 6 is comments from members of the public. We only have one comment, so I'm not going to read the scripts. I'm pretty sure you know the process.
Well, I'm the person who signed up, but I got to talk about my asterisks
Oh, okay. Makes it easy.
already at the appropriate time, and so I don't need to
All right, I
be
appreciate it.
redundant.
Thank you. All right, new business. Mr. Charbonneau.
Thank you.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes. Want to thank you for your 4 years of service. You're going out on a high note. You get to run the meeting. I don't know if you made the mayor sick on purpose.
No.
It was a pleasure working with you for the last 2 years.
I appreciate that, thank you. Mr. Upper Chase?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Nothing from me. Old business. Mr. Charbonneau?
No, thank you.
Mr. Curtis?
No, thank you.
Mr. Upper Chase?
Well, thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
No, thank you.
Nothing from me. The next regularly scheduled council meeting will be March 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Comments? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion's passed. I will accept a motion to adjourn this meeting at 6:43 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Charbonneau, second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion, comments? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion has passed. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.